What's going on, everyone? Watch Michael out here, coming to you from the Greenway in North Carolina. This is just one of many greenways we have, about 90 miles in total, running throughout the town. It's definitely one of the selling points that brought us here. Anyway, today I wanted to share with you my experience with reverse culture shock. If you've been following this channel for any amount of time, you know that I lived in Shanghai for about 12 years and just moved back to the US last year, and now to this city, Cary, a few months ago, but it's treated us well so far. However, I have to say, after being gone for so long and coming back, there are some things that really surprised me, things that I didn't expect. Some are good and some are bad. So I'm just gonna get right into it. The first one, the biggest one, the baddest one, tipping culture is absolutely out of control here. Excuse me, could you tell me where the hardware store is? Yeah, you just go down the road, take a left at the stoplight, and it should be right there on your left. Oh, thanks, I appreciate it. What's that, is that a map? What? You gotta be kidding. I don't make the rules. How am I supposed to tip you? I didn't even pay you anything. How do you sleep at night? 20% of nothing is still nothing. I'm not sure your math is correct. Sorry, I didn't bring cash. That's right, I take credit card, Apple Pay. Obviously that's a big exaggeration, but it's not an exaggeration to say it's out of control here.
I'm purchasing an office chair online and they're asking me if I want to leave a tip.
15-20% on a sweatshirt purchase.
I'm wondering how long before I'm tipping my doctor after an annual physical.
It's much different than when I left the US. Before, the standard was 15%, and that was pretty well accepted. You know, I don't mind being a little generous. People work hard for their money. Being a waiter or waitress is not an easy job. Even just going to get coffee or boba tea, you go up there to pay and they flip the machine around and it says like 15, 20, or 25%. I've even seen some machines say up to 30%. And then they're just standing there looking at you, so you feel obligated to pay. You know, if I'm just picking up food at a restaurant, I'm not gonna pay 20% tip. It's really changed since COVID. You know, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people were struggling with their finances. So there was this big push to tip them more so that they could make ends meet. So I get that. It was a tough time for everyone. But the problem is, that just never went away. One time I took Xiaomai to a soccer game. I went and got a couple of hot dogs. The guy flipped the machine around to add tip and he's like, "You don't need to tip." I'm like, "Well, why is that?" And he said, "Well, we don't get to keep the tips. They all just go to the company." So now every time I tip, I'm thinking, are they gonna get to keep this money or is it just going right into the owner's pockets? So a lot of times I'll just ask them if they get to keep the tips just to make sure before I do it. Something's gotta break. People are fed up with it. I looked up the minimum wage for tipped workers in North Carolina, $2.13. For non-tipped jobs, the minimum wage is $7.25. Now obviously, very few, if any, people are gonna be willing to work for those wages. Even a very entry-level job like flipping burgers at McDonald's, a high school kid could go there and probably get, I don't know, 12, 13 bucks an hour to start, which is awesome if you're in high school. At my high school job, I made $5 an hour. I have seen a couple businesses start to advertise that you don't need to tip at their restaurants because they pay their servers a living wage. Will that catch on? I don't know, maybe, but probably not. Second thing I noticed coming back is how sweet the foods are. During my time in China and as I've gotten older, I removed a lot of sugar from my diet. I rarely, if ever, drink sugary drinks. I try to minimize the sweet foods that I eat. But if you take a bite of cheesecake from a bakery in Shanghai and then a bite of cheesecake from a bakery here in the US, holy cow, I totally forgot how sweet things are here. It is just too much for me. I can't take it. It's just a sweetness overload. My wife bakes cheesecake a lot at home and she'll put half the amount of sugar that the recipe calls for and it'll still be really, really, really sweet. I guess growing up here I was just used to it, but having been away and coming back, man, that was a shock. I just can't drink things like Coke or eat super sweet foods anymore. It's just, I don't know, gross to me now. One of the things I was pleasantly surprised by is tap to pay. I guess that's another thing that came out of COVID. Technology has existed for a while, of course, but since COVID, you can pretty much use tap to pay anywhere. You just save your bank card or your credit card into your phone, and then when I go to pay, I just double tap, scan my face, put it near the scanner, and done. That way I get to collect all my credit card points for free stuff, like flights or an iPhone. That's right, this iPhone 15 Pro was paid 100% through credit card points. I think I actually like it better than WeChat Pay or Alipay. It's definitely a lot faster. You don't have to scan anything. I get my credit card points. It's pretty secure, obviously. It won't pay unless it scans my face. But I got used to not having a wallet in China, and here in the US I no longer need a wallet either. Another thing I was pleasantly surprised by and not something I really thought about until I moved here to North Carolina, but it's that everyone is super, super nice. Now, of course, I would say the same thing about China. When I first went there, everyone was just so friendly. For some reason, I forgot that people here in the US and most countries are also really, really kind. We've only been here a couple months. I cannot even count how many people we've met. Every day it seems like I'm meeting new people. I'm not sure what I was expecting exactly, but it's just always nice to have people who are really friendly and really kind when you go to new places. Another thing that was weird to me, and not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but there seems to be kind of a lack of people biking around, or at least you just don't see them. It's probably more due to the fact that I moved to a small to mid-sized town as opposed to a megacity like Shanghai. When we first moved here, I was excited to get an e-bike like I had in China because the biking infrastructure here is so good. But it seems like even though this has some of probably the best biking infrastructure in the US, in my opinion, it just doesn't get used that much. I guess that's good for us because every time we want to go for a bike ride, there's not going to be a lot of traffic. But it's also kind of sad that people don't take advantage of it because it really is nice. It's beautiful. And you can tell the city put a lot of time and money and effort into making these trails. But with that said, I still have not bought an e-bike. Once we got a car, we just started driving everywhere. And to be honest with you, the roads here are super nice. I can get anywhere I need to go in like 5 or 10 minutes. I can get to the airport in 15 minutes. Shanghai obviously has an amazing subway system. But even using that, if you're just gonna go a few stops, you still gotta walk to the station, wait for the train, get on, get off, walk to your destination. It's still gonna take you 15, 20, 30 minutes to get to a destination. So I do appreciate the fact that I can get places very quickly. Now, if I have to drive 20 or 30 minutes away, it's like, oh my gosh, that's so far. I guess everything is relative. So it's just kind of shocking to me that so few people bike around town here. And similar to that, another thing that's kind of bizarre is just lack of people outside. Again, this is a small to mid-sized town, not a 25 million people city like Shanghai. But it is different because this is just one of the cities where you could walk to a lot of places, yet people just still don't do it. I don't do it. I wouldn't call it a ghost town here, but I do sometimes wonder, like, where are all the people at? I'm just used to walking out of my apartment in Shanghai and just there being people everywhere. I think people here tend to just congregate in certain areas like the downtown city park. We went there last night, tons and tons of people. But walking around the downtown area, like, not a ton. I guess it's just my life stage and the city I've chosen to live in. That's the big difference, but it was just kind of weird to me. Those are the things that have shocked me the most so far. But as always, I'd like to hear from you. Have any of you ever lived abroad for a while and then come home only to be shocked by your own culture? Let me know in the comments below what surprised you. Thanks so much for watching. I think I'm finally in a place now where I can start to do weekly videos again. So stay tuned, I've got a lot more content coming. And as always, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. 我是麦克老师，下次再见。
No.